Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 72, Go West, Young Meowth. The episode begins back in Pallet Town at Ash's house, where Ash and Brock were doing some training exercises while Misty and Togepi were having some tea watching TV, with Misty commenting on how Ash and Brock weren't actually benefiting from any of this training, stating how it wasn't helping them prepare for the Pokemon League, and that the fucking remote was getting more exercise than they were. As for Mr. Mime, he was currently sweeping and doing chores outside, while Ash's mom was in the garden, when suddenly a man showed up and delivered a letter to Ash's mother, which informed her that she, along with Ash, Misty, and Brock, were all invited to the movie premiere of the movie from last episode. That's right, guys, a seemingly filler episode actually had impact in the next episode. No way! Not only that, but the fact that the movie actually was managed to get made with the fucking director's incompetence was fucking amazing. Anyways, the letter also states that the movie premiere was going to be in none other than Hollywood. Damn, I didn't know that the director was this big. Misty, Brock, and Ash's mom are all very, very excited to go to Hollywood, envisioning the streetlights and all the beauty in their heads. Ash is excited too, but he tries to fake that he isn't, and that he was depressed that he was going to have to stay behind and train instead, wanting to impress his friends that he was willing to sacrifice having fun in order to go train, proving that he was serious. But he decided to give up on this idea, as he just really fucking wanted to go to Hollywood, okay? He can train in another episode, even though we say that every fucking episode at this point. Meanwhile, in Hollywood, Jesse and James had heard about the coming movie premiere and were very, very fucking excited that they would get to watch it and see themselves on the big screen, despite the fact that they weren't invited, because they were obviously just going to break into the theater anyways. I mean, they kind of deserved to break into the theater, because it turned out that they were putting up billboards for the movie all over the goddamn city with their own funds. Or they were just putting them up illegally, who knows. Meowth, on the other hand, is not happy, because he's too busy having PTSD from his first ever memory as a child. Now, I don't know why this event of all things was enough to bring on this memory, or like why he was thinking of this now, but it's whatever, because this is actually a really good episode, and we get to see Meowth's backstory. So without further ado, here it is. The first thing he could remember was being left alone in a box at a camp called Camp Pokéhurst, where a whole bunch of kids would play. It appeared to be like a sporting camp of some kind, but anyways, no one at the camp really accepted him, and he was always viewed as just the random-ass stray cat that would always come by. So he was always alone, never having any friends or allies, and he was always hungry, as being as young as he was, it was hard for him to get food on his own. He then goes on to state how he was so hungry one day that he tried to eat a basket of baseballs that the kids were using, thinking that it was instead rice balls, because he was fucking probably hallucinating due to how hungry he was. But then when he tried eating them, he realized that they were in fact baseballs, and he got depressed. And then, even worse, all of the kids and the instructors noticed him trying to eat their baseballs and tied him up in a tree as punishment. It wasn't just a temporary thing either. They left him there fucking days and nights. He was trying his best to kill his time while sleeping, despite it obviously being hard to fall asleep when you're fucking uncomfortable tied up. But he eventually did manage to get to sleep, but was rudely woken up when he spotted a movie being played for the camp attendants, called That Darn Meowth. Meowth wasn't mad at this disturbance, no. He was in awe at the movie, as the movie was about none other than Hollywood and how luxurious and awesome it was. And it also showed the main characters eating fried chicken and ice cream, which Meowth immediately became super infatuated with, believing they looked really good, probably just happy to see some actual genuine food, aside from some baseballs. Despite this, though, it was his main motivator to fucking break out of the ropes that he was tied in and hitch a ride on a truck all the way to Hollywood. Bro managed to break some rope and hitchhike miles all due to some fried chicken and ice cream. Damn, that's some power. Speaking of Hollywood, we then cut away from Meowth's backstory for a bit, as Ash and the gang had arrived in Hollywood, and it was as luxurious as they were imagining. Fucking lights everywhere. It was beautiful. However, this was also in their heads, as when they arrived in Hollywood, it was in fact not what they imagined, and they were actually in a fucking rundown street that looked as dirty as fucking New York or something. It's implied that this is only a section of Hollywood, but since we later know that this town was going through a recession, it makes me wonder if really all of Hollywood was like this, but it may be either or. I'm not entirely sure. Anyways, what I do know is that Ash and the gang, along with Ash's mom, were very, very annoyed at the fact that they weren't in the glamorous Hollywood that they were expecting. But they weren't left standing in their sadness for long, as Spielbank then showed up and invited them inside the theater, which they were right by. Ash and the gang went in with Spielbank, excited to finally fucking see this movie premiere. It better be good. Meanwhile, Team Rocket was planning to sneak in to the movie theater and watch the movie screening, obviously not being invited, which they stated was easier than they were expecting, as they weren't expecting Hollywood to be as deserted as this area was. However, as Jesse and James start walking across the street, they notice that Meowth isn't coming with them, still seemingly sad like it was the night before. Jesse and James concerningly ask Meowth what was wrong, but Meowth simply replies that he just had some shit that he needed to do, and informed Jesse and James that he would be back before the movie began, and they sure hoped that he would. He ends up leaving to a deserted snack stand, which he stares at as it causes him to get more PTSD from his childhood, as he remembers the exact same snack stand, back then, still up and running. He had went there when he had first arrived in Hollywood in order to steal some fried chicken to try for the first time, but unfortunately, he was caught stealing by both the store owner and the numerous customers, so he had to flee as fast as possible, at risk of being caught and potentially punished. He had to run so fast in order to escape that he dropped his food in the process and didn't have enough time to go back for it. He did at least manage to escape the store owner and customers, though, as he ran into an alleyway. This was also a good thing, because it caused him to actually meet some friends, being a gang of Meowth who was led by a Persian. The Persian stated that he was impressed by Meowth's ability to escape from the chef, and invited him into his gang because of that. Meowth was immensely happy at the fact that he was finally accepted, and finally had friends, and very quickly accepted to join the gang with no hesitation. As a reward, the Persian not only gave him some of the extra fried chicken that they had, but proceeded to teach Meowth how to steal fried chicken properly. This allowed him to fit in with the gang even more, as they performed many heists, just as he later would with Team Rocket. As a result, Meowth was no longer as hungry as an African child. Despite the immense assistance that Persian and the other Meowth had provided him, Meowth still eventually decided to leave the gang, as he wanted to both be independent and find a wife of his own. Because although he really connected with the Meowth and all the Persian, he believed that if he found the love of his life, then they would have an even stronger connection. Back in the present, Meowth then goes from the snack stand to a new location, being a department store, which was now also run down. Seeing this place causes him to recall this wife that he wanted so bad. Or at least his wannabe wife, another Meowth named Meowsy, who was a lot richer than he was, having been owned by a rich owner. One day, he was just walking alone down the street when he spotted Meowsy across the street and was instantly fucking in love, like how Brock would be. He was just fucking absolutely infatuated with this Meowth, to the point where he immediately ran over, not being able to contain himself, and he ran over so uncontrollably that he didn't watch where he was going and caused a massive traffic jam due to running on the road so suddenly, meaning he almost got fucking run over. And unfortunately, when he arrived, he immediately got rejected by Meowsy, as Meowsy was unimpressed with him for simply being a random-ass street Meowth, as opposed to her being a rich Meowth. As if on cue, Meowsy's owner came up and hit Meowth with her umbrella, knocking him out. Damn, I could totally see this being Meowth's villain origin story. Bro got rejected and slapped on the head, even though he fucking risked his life. The owner then reveals herself as a rich bitch, explaining where Meowsy's funds came from, and the Meowsy simply taunts Meowth that it would never be as rich as she was, due to the fact that he couldn't get any job and make any money due to not being a human, and that he didn't ever stand a chance with her, as her owner recalled her into her Pokeball, which was filled with diamonds, further emphasizing the fact that she was rich, because I mean, if you weren't extremely rich, why the fuck else would you buy a Pokeball with diamonds on it? Meowsy and her owner then sped away in a huge limousine, much to Meowth's frustration and sadness. Despite being rejected by Meowsy, this just motivated him more to want her, and he declared that he would try his best to become a human in order to win her over, believing that if he did so, he could prove that he could become as rich as a human, and essentially win her over in his human form, due to now having the ability to make money. Back in the present, Meowth then went from the department store to the remains of an academy that he stayed at, which causes yet another memory. He had decided to stay at an academy, knowing that they were the places where you learn things, so he expected that he could learn how to be a human, especially if he spied on all the students during their gym classes in which they would be most active, allowing him to learn how to walk, which was his first goal. It was extremely painful, but he had eventually managed to walk on 2 legs after watching the kids do so for a very long time. Now that he had achieved the ability to walk, he was committed to continuing to practice it until it was no longer painful for him. But this resulted in him once again finding it difficult to successfully steal food from the snack stand, as he was a lot slower walking on 2 legs as opposed to 4. Eventually, though, his practice paid off, and he was an efficient walker, his first step to becoming a human. The next step was figuring out how to talk like a human, and he was also able to accomplish this both by spying on conversations in more of the classes, and because he luckily found a picture book in the school's attic, which had a picture for each letter in the alphabet, allowing him to learn it. Now, I don't know why there was a book about the alphabet in a high school, but whatever. After successfully learning the alphabet, he managed to learn individual words of the objects in the book, and for R, he managed to learn the word rocket coincidentally, confirming that rocket was the first word that he had learned, adding that that was why he chose to join Team Rocket as an evil organization later in his life, as opposed to any other evil organization, because he had such respect for the word rocket due to it being the first one that he learned. Eventually, he obviously learned how to say way more words than just rocket, and believed that this, combined with the fact that he could walk, would finally be enough to win over the Meowsy that he loved so much. So he proceeded to find her at the department store yet again, and run up to her with flowers, explaining what they were to her in the human language. However, Meowsy confirms that Meowth had misunderstood her all along. She didn't like her owner because she was human, she merely liked her owner because she was rich. In fact, Meowsy thought that humans were freaks for the way that they acted, and she only put up with her owner due to her money, and now that Meowth was exhibiting human-like qualities, he was therefore her 2 least favorite things, a street Meowth and a human. This meant that Meowth had been rejected yet again, but once again, this only motivated him more, declaring that if she liked rich freaks, then he would become a rich freak, no matter what. This is what motivated him to become a member of Team Rocket, so he could start stealing a whole bunch of money. But joining Team Rocket also in turn meant that he never got to see Meowsy again, as he never really had any free time on his own, so he could never try and find her. Which was what he was planning to do now, while Jesse and James were busy watching the movie. Speaking of Jesse and James, even though they were initially going to wait for Meowth to come back, they realized that the movie was going to start very soon, so they were like, you know what, screw it, I think we should just go in. Anyways, as Meowth began his search for Meowsy, he instead came across his old Meowth and Persian gang. The Persian then revealed that it had a proposal to ask Meowth and requested that he come with him to talk. Meowth agreed, and they met at the Persian's new base, where he revealed that he wanted Meowth to join the gang once again, since he had noticed how Meowth had acquired human abilities and believed that they could help them get more food and shit. Meowth declines, thinking he was just going to be used as a tool, and reveals that he had a new organization now, being Team Rocket. Meowth then looks at the angry crowd of the Meowth, however, and eventually spots none other than Meowsy, much to his immense shock. Meowth then whisks Meowsy away, believing that she had been captured and wanting to save her, and the two of them then find a place to hide where they talk privately, leaving Meowsy to reveal what had happened to her. Essentially, a recession had hit that area of Hollywood after Meowth had left, which was why all the buildings were now abandoned. And as a result of the recession, Meowsy's owner became poor, meaning that she could no longer afford to keep Meowsy, let alone give her anything luxurious. So, her owner decided to abandon her on the street, leading her to get taken in by the Meowth gang, just as Meowth had, in which she decided to stay because she had nowhere else to go with her owner gone. Meowth informs Meowsy that she could have a better life with him now, and potentially even join Team Rocket. But just then, the gang show up and demand Meowsy back. Meowth was about to try and defend Meowsy himself, but fortunately for him, Team Rocket show up in a Deus Ex Machina moment at the last second, and reveal how they had not gone into the movie, being too worried for Meowth, and instead had missed the movie to come save him. Meowth starts to tear up in happiness, amazed at the dedication Jesse and James had to him, as they send out Arbok and Weezing and have them attack all the Meowth with a smog attack, blinding them in a huge field of smoke. In the chaos of the smoke, though, Persian manages to escape and run away to a nearby rooftop. Meowth and Meowsy decide to follow him, with Meowth wanting to get his revenge on him after all this time, while Jesse and James follow them and have Arbok and Weezing stay behind to finish off the Meowth. Meowth, Meowsy, Jesse, and James then meet the Persian on the rooftop that it escaped to, and Meowth and Persian prepare to have their fateful battle. They get on opposite sides, stare into each other's eyes as they have a Western-style face down, and then Meowth jumps up and scratches Persian as Persian tries to do the same thing, but Meowth is too fast. Meowth had won the battle, knocking Persian over. Meowth sees Meowsy running and begins to try and intercept with a hug and celebration, but Meowsy only runs right past him and straight to the injured Persian when she then decides to comfort it, licking its face, which shocks Meowth, who immediately questions why Meowsy was showing affection for the Persian, to which Meowsy reveals that she never actually agreed to go with Meowth, stating that she felt obligated to stay with the Persian due to him saving her back then, and clarifying that she wouldn't go with Meowth anyway due to still believing him to be a freak between a human and a Pokemon. This absolutely crushes Meowth as he falls over in devastation. Jesse and James try their best to comfort him by stating that he was still their freak, and try to get him to leave with them, but Meowth declines, stating that he wanted to stay on the rooftop for a bit longer. Jesse and James reluctantly accept their request, as they leave, along with Persian and Meowsy, who leave in the other direction. Meanwhile, at the movie theater, the movie has ended at this point, and Spielbank asks Ash and the gang and Ash's mom what they thought of the movie, hoping that they enjoyed it, but Ash only complains that he never got to be in the final cut, along with any of his friends, expecting that he would have been due to partaking in the huge final battle scene. Ash's mom then adds how his Pokemon didn't even seem to make it into the movie either, with the exception of a brief appearance by Pikachu's tail. But Spielbank then reveals that he cut that entire scene out despite loving it so much, because he wanted the movie to be entirely about Pokemon, like he originally planned, and not have any humans in it. Misty then obviously questions why the fuck Spielbank invited them to the movie premiere if they weren't even in the movie, and Spielbank just shamefully declares that he couldn't get any actual famous people to attend his premiere, so he thought Ash and the gang were the next best thing. Just then, Spielbank is cut off as Team Rocket come onto stage and do their motto, wanting to do this as a way to show themselves off due to not being able to, since they missed the movie. When they hear Spielbank and Ash and the gang sighs of displeasure though, as they question what the fuck they were doing, Team Rocket then promptly leave, disappointed with the backlash. Meanwhile, later that night, Meowth was still on the rooftop, staring at the moon, wondering if Meowsy was looking at the moon as well, still fucking desperate for her ass, despite being rejected 10,000 times. Guess he never learned, Meowth. You're like Brock.